So if Rick has a way to get this Bolus Citadel back from the graveyard...
Does he have any reanimation?
Well, he just drew...
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Well,
what's happening? Didn't see you there.
Yeah, I didn't see you there either. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome everyone to our third biannual Canlander Invitational stream here at Enter the Battlefield Newmarket up in Canada.
Yep.
My name's Adam. With me is
Nathan. Yes.
Nathan, friend of the store and avid Canadian Highlander player.
Oh, it's my favorite format by far. I love this format, and I am so excited to commentate today. Everyone looks to be on like really cool decks today. Really diverse top 8 that we have here, which is always good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna take you through some of that in just a moment.
Yep.
For the people that may not have heard of what this is before, wanted to quickly let you know, Canadian Highlander, 100-point minimum deck list size,
100 card
minimum, 1v1, 20 life format with a points list.
Yes.
We'll be talking a bit more about that, I'm sure, as we go. But this is the shop's invitational. Why don't you tell us a bit more about what that means?
Oh yes, as a previous invitational winner myself. So yeah,
we're in the presence of royalty.
Oh yeah, well, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But so every 6 months or so, we have our participants here. Every month, we have an event which lets the players earn points. After a certain amount of time, we host these seasonal top 8s, which lets the players play for prizes and bragging rights as well.
Lots of bragging rights going on today. We're going to see some really good players that have been consistently showing up, doing well over the course of the last 6 months. And we're going to have some powerful magic today.
Super powerful magic. Especially for our first round here. We're looking at 2 decks that don't really look to do things the traditional way in Magic.
Yeah, so let's actually bring you to the tournament. Rick and Eric are in our feature match area right now. Rick is on Tinker, Citadel,
Storm, Combo
Pile, and Eric is on Cheating Woodlands.
Yes.
So that's going to be a very exciting match we're going to turn over to in a second.
Yep. I also had a chance just briefly while we had the technical difficulties to see what the other people were doing. We had a lot of exciting magic going on today. I saw the Initiative, I saw a Time Walk, and I even saw an Orcish Bowmasters on the table as well. So
nice.
A lot of very powerful magic going on today.
The most common color set is Mardu with but one of those 2 is going to get knocked out in the first round because we have Dave on Mardu Low Range and Dan on Mardu Aristocrats. That's on the other side of the bracket here.
We love our mirror matches here at Enter the Battle.
Love our mirror matches, if not the brother mirror matches.
Oh yes.
Maybe we'll see them meet up in the finals.
Oh, let's go.
We got Nathaniel on Paradox Academy.
Yep.
And Will on Bant Seeker.
Yes.
And lastly here, Liam is on Gruul.
Yep.
And Gruul Monsters, I suppose. And then Cam is on D&T. So lots of different stuff going on. I think also similar to some past versions of this tournament that we've run, not a ton of blue going on.
There is some, but there's definitely not as much as other top 8s have seen.
Yeah,
but,
no Jeskai this time around.
Yes, it's definitely it is definitely looking like a very board oriented top 8 here today. So absolutely. I think we're going to see a lot of combats and a lot of interaction as well. But I think we've waited long enough for you guys, so let's get down to our feature match and get them going.
And I'm going to edit these names here in just a second, so please bear with me. We are good to go. All right. So we have Rick on Tinker Citadel Doomsday. Tinker Citadel Doomsday.
Rick on most of the
screen, as you will see in a second here when we update things. We also have Rick.
Yes, that's going to be Rick
here. Yeah, we are not stream gurus here by any stretch, so please bear with us as we navigate Streamlabs.
No problem. So Rick's starting off with a Crystal Vein, and we have Eric into, I think, a Dark Ritual, and a Mind Twist for 2 right off the bat. So Eric wasting no time starting to attack Rick here. So,
So he's discarding 2 cards.
do
Okay.
you want to just change this to just Woodlands?
Yeah. I see that now.
Yeah, but
you know what? I think we're gonna change. we're not changing Eric's deck name. We're changing Rick's deck name because this is wild.
Let's just go with Tinker Citadel.
Tinker Citadel. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, there we go.
There and then you know what it is.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
His thing. Yeah.
I got it. I gotcha. Watch this. No, not that.
Some technical expertise here. And Rick coming back at Eric here with an Inquisition of Kozilek, taking an Expedition map. A very good choice, seeing as Eric has a lot of very powerful lands. But Rick not too concerned about the Oko in Eric's hand here either. I can't quite see what the... Oh, that's a channel, I think? In Eric's hand as well. Now, Rick is a very experienced combo player here at our metagame. Rick has played combo decks for as long as I've known him in the format. He's right up his alley here on the deck he's on today, especially with the artifact combo decks. Eric, a little bit of a Swiss Army knife in terms of deck building. They like to play a lot of different types of archetypes. I've seen them on Grixis Midrange. I've seen them on Artifact, Time Vault. It's all over the place. But seeing the deck lists here, I think Eric is much more in the reactionary spot, whereas Rick is just trying to protect his combo and then go off as soon as he can. So the initiative in terms of a gameplay sense is more on Eric here to make sure he can interact with Rick properly and cheat something into play in order to close out the game before Rick can really get his engine online.
So cheating, the namesake card of the deck.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
It is
something Woodlands.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Shifting Woodland.
Shifting Woodland.
Yeah, so we have it
Yes.
here. So
Okay.
this is a new Modern Horizons 3 staple. This is the namesake of the deck. So it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a forest. It's a land, by the way. It taps for green mana. If you have Delirium, you can pay 2 and 2 green to have it become a copy of target permanent in your graveyard until the end of turn. You can only activate it if you have the Delirium, but you can do it at instant speed. So if Eric can do something like, is he on Emrakul in this deck?
Yes, he is.
He
Two
is,
different Emrakuls.
So even the Eldrazi Titans that shuffle back in, Eric at instant speed can copy the Eldrazi in the deck. But much more of a fair, powerful card he's using here is Oko, but Rick seemed to be off into it. Rick heavy with the hand attack here, making sure he can clear a path for his combo pieces, but I'm not sure. He is running a little bit low on cards, especially after Eric's Mind Twist in the early game. And Rick taking an Imperial Seal from Eric. So both players kind of just playing off the tops of their deck here. Eric definitely in the driver's seat with that Oko in play right now, though.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't played against Oko, I envy you so much. This card is a house of a card. I think it was even on the points watch list for a while.
Yeah.
Turning, being able to nullify creatures and even turn your own artifacts into creatures to be able to attack. An extremely versatile card. And it's so cheap too, with so much loyalty. I believe Eric is... So he just ticked up Oko, but it looks like Rick is thinking about something?
Yeah, he's got... just waiting for Eric to pick what he was doing with Oko.
I think he's deciding whether or not he wants to pressure Rick or take Rick's mana away by turning his signet into an elk.
Taking mana away right now seems pretty good because I think Rick is relatively dependent on this.
And I believe, does it take away the artifact subtype?
Yeah, it just becomes an elk, right? A green elk. So.
Well, especially with Rick's deck being on the Tinker. But Rick recognizing that three power is also a win condition, goes just on the aggro plan.
But can't.
Doesn't look
Eric
like
he can just steal it though, right?
He can. But Eric going for the Gataxian Probe, checking out what's in Rick's hand. Rick doesn't really have much. He's going to be relying a lot off the top of his deck here. But yeah, Oko, I think his -5 is you can give them an artifact and you
Yeah.
get to take a creature with power 5 or less.
Yeah, you're swapping basically an artifact or a creature of your own to get something, whereas we're not on the right. No,
Yeah, there it is.
Wrong deck list. Here we go. Exchange control of target artifact or creature you control, and target creature and opponent controls of power 3 or less. So yeah, so you know, Rick deciding not to attack the Oko, bringing him down to 4 loyalty, means that if Eric wanted to, he could swap the food that he has for this 3/3.
Yeah.
And I don't think a food is doing Rick a whole ton at this point, unless he
But
can
giving
find Tinker.
So giving Rick an artifact is a little
is
bit
relevant.
weird for something like if Rick top decks a Tolarian Academy or a Tinker or something like. Is Rick on? What are the points we're working on?
Yeah,
here?
so we have this handy dandy ability.
Yep. So
or
for,
no, we
for
don't.
those, yeah. So for kind of those who don't know Canadian Highlander, the way the points list works is cards that you would normally see banned are instead assigned points, and you're only allowed 10 points to your deck. So Rick, we're working with Demonic Tutor at 3 points, Tinker at 3 points, Mystical Tutor, Imperial Seal, and Vampiric Tutor. So he's not on Transmute Artifact. So it's only really the Tinker that is the big rip for Rick here. But I guess we'll also have to see.
Yeah, so I mean, Eric did use Gitaxian Probe to see that Rick's hand was, I think it was just Dark Rit.
Yeah.
And so at this point, he might be feeling,
Yeah.
you know what, I'm not worried about him. You know, there's the 1 in,
Yeah.
80 chance that he draws, or probably even worse, 1 in 80 chance that he draws Tinker right this
But-
second. Instead, let's
yeah.
Stone Rain you and
But
turn your other land into
This
a
also gives Rick 2 3/3s. So that's kind of the downside of this. While Eric is attacking Rick's resources, it is kind of a trade-off where Rick is just going. Rick just has a board presence now, but Rick trying to pressure Eric's life total here.
I'm really surprised. I don't know if I guess Rick maybe has a plan that he's working towards, but I'm surprised.
Oh,
that,
he also knows there's a channel in Eric's hand, so he might try to be taking away it as an option by attacking his life total and making it so that Eric can't rip like a very powerful threat off the top and then just channel
but
it out.
Oko being in play just means you can always create food. So I'm surprised we're not at least attacking Oko down to keep him in check to some degree. Cause
Well, with not a lot in Rick's hand, he might just be under the notion that trying to fight the Oko is a losing battle. But Eric's still
dueling
not.
Oaks.
Yeah, but Eric's still not trying to take him down here. So Eric played an Uro, didn't draw a land, but did gain 3 life, which let him pad out at least 1 elk attack. But Rick just going for it here. Does draw a 3rd land, but doesn't have anything to back it up with just yet. And kind of the problem with just sitting on this Oko is Eric's giving Rick a lot of time to be able to kind of draw out of this into one of his combo wins here. But Eric's sitting with a lot of cards in hand right now. Rick kind of just preying on these 2 elks that he has. And that is an escaped Uro for Eric. So definitely a House of a Card Uro. So escaping it. This is definitely going to stem the bleeding for them. Just stonewalling these 2 3/3s with a gigantic threat.
Yeah,
And still
huge here.
And still just sitting beside the Oko, so very firmly in the driver's seat now, especially going for the Inquisition of Kozilek here.
Oh, oopsie, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
And we're back. Okay. Yeah, I'm struggling to see how Rick comes back from this at this point, considering he's low on lands. His creatures are outclassed now by what Eric has on the board. Eric's had this Oko on the field for like 5 turns. And now we're just getting Inquisition.
Yeah, so Rick
into the dirt.
Rick did put a preordain on top, and Eric isn't at a huge life total here, but I don't know.
That's 6 life, not 9, right? Yeah.
That is 6 life. Yeah.
But he's, I think. Oh no, he just played the Uro this turn, so he's not going to be able to attack with it.
Yeah. So he played the Uro, and then he shocked in the Overburn too. So
Gotcha.
So Rick draws the Preordain. And
Okay, but
goes,
if you're
yeah.
Rick, what are you hoping to draw in this
Yeah.
case? Like, what are the best possible 3 cards you have? Oh, never mind. I got mental misstep. So
Yeah.
you're just dead.
Yeah.
I think you're just
well,
dead.
he's not dead yet. Rick can offer the trade. Well, he might.
Well, you can. Oh, he's
Yeah.
just making another.
Yeah,
3/3.
Eric's just forcing the issue here. If Rick wants, he can try and get rid of the Uro with a double block here, but that just might be the not dying play. So gets the land off the Uro, pads the life total, and now Rick has a decision to make as to whether or not to try.
I think we might have forgotten to gain 3 life.
No, he did.
Didn't he go from 6?
No, I think he went from 4. Oh no, because it was the mental misstep.
Oh,
Yes.
so he went down to 4,
Yeah.
and then he paid
Yeah.
Phyrexian mana for that.
Then
Yes.
land drop
Okay.
the turn.
Yeah.
So
Apparently, we're not actually projecting as much as I thought we were.
Yeah.
We're in the low green here.
Oh,
or
yeah.
high green. Yeah, sorry, that's a stream thing.
we got that radio.
We gotta
voice.
yell. We gotta yell into the microphone to make
Yeah.
sure that y'all are hearing
there
us.
goes
And that's it.
game 1.
All right, so we are going to see player 2. Haha! No. Player 2, round 1. We did it.
Yes,
Look at
there we
that
go.
technology.
Eric takes game 1 in a very commanding game. Just grinding the Oko value, grinding the Uro value.
Let's
Just the classic Magic the Gathering of casting a card with
Yeah.
1, a green, and a blue.
Uro is exactly Magic as Richard Garfield intended.
Yep.
Let's go to our deck list, and just while they're shuffling up here, you can see them in the top left corner of your screen. Let's take a look at these deck lists just while we have them a few moments. So this is
I have to say, this Cheating Woodlands deck is so cool.
yes.
You have the new cycle cards that they gave us in Lord of the Rings. You have even new cards in Modern Horizons 3 with Cheating Woodlands, and even some old goodies like Animate Dead. And are we on like Dance of the Dead stuff? We have Animate Dead, Reanimate. This deck is just trying to do so much, but still having that backup plan of just playing the control mid-range game is so strong.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this kind of deck, it's kind of like a sneak and show deck, but without.
We're on Eric's.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got this. I know what I'm doing.
All right.
So
That's why I have the pretty face.
So like for me, this is like almost like a sneak and show deck from like Legacy or something, but obviously we don't have sneak attack.
Yeah,
here.
but
It's
like the
no red.
dedicated sneak attack and show, or the sneak and show decks have genuinely been a little bit more niche in the Canadian Highlander format.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing like this kind of a deck in such a commanding position. And having so many different lines to take as well. You can take the mid-range game. You can take the unfair game.
Yeah.
You have stat. Is there a lot of
Eureka in here?
Oh man, this deck looks like so much fun. But on the other hand, let's take a look at Rick's deck as well.
Let's take a quick look at Tinker Citadel here.
Yeah.
And flip over.
Because Rick definitely wasn't out of that game for a long time. The Uro did really close the door on that game, I think, and especially that awesome mind twist right on turn 1 was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that mind twist was basically like a hint to Turok, which is still good.
Well, it's like a mind rot with extra steps.
Yeah, sure. But, yeah. I don't know. I think I'm of the opinion that game really started to spiral out of control for Rick when the Oko came out to play and was basically
Unchecked,
unanswered.
yeah.
Like, that's
Well,
really hard to come back
keep
from.
in mind that Rick knows that I think based on his deck, I don't think he has too much to deal with something like an Oko once it resolves.
No.
And genuinely, unless it's like a super key piece, which we saw there, Eric attacking Rick's mana, even though it did do a lot of damage back to them, it set Rick on like such a back foot that didn't really, even though it didn't really seem like he had a lot to do with afterwards, but still a very, especially for these artifact decks when they're trying to accelerate their mana with all their artifacts, it's always a very good angle of attack to try and attack them like that.
For sure. I didn't notice, was Rick on the play in the last game? Did he play his land and then Eric
he went Crystal Lane Pass, Eric went land, Dark Ritual,
Dark Ritual,
Mind Twist.
for 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's flip over.
Yeah, and it looks like
We're about to start, so let's flip back into gameplay mode here.
I think they're just resolving mulligans here.
Yeah.
It looks like Eric
Eric.
is taking their mulligan here.
Yeah. So I think Rick, just the way that Eric's deck plays, I think that Rick is probably looking for a pretty fast hand. Like if he can get some mana ramp quickly, and then
Rick is
Tinker or find Tinker. Like I think that's what he's hoping for.
Rick is definitely looking to. He does want a little bit of insurance against something like Eric's hand attack spells or stack interaction, and an explosive card like Tinker would definitely be up his alley. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening here.
Yeah, I think that this is probably a bit of a tougher matchup for Rick though, because I think Eric does have just that perfect amount of interaction, both in terms of like the hand disruption and the.
But Eric, the thing about Eric's deck that's really interesting as well is Eric's deck has multiple different angles of attack here. So when Eric doesn't draw a mid-range hand, they can always go for something like an unfair hand that reanimates an Atraxa or an Emrakul or an Ulamog like super quickly, and then Rick's immediately on the back foot that way. But I guess we'll see. Rick's deck definitely more looking for more of the explosive start. And this is definitely a Rick pile if I've ever seen it. I see a fast bond. I see a
Rick pile.
Yep, the Bolus's Citadel. Just tutors as far as the eye can see, and instead of more stack interaction, Rick is looking more for those protection spells to protect his key permanents and himself, like things like Veil of Summer. I even see a Tameo safekeeping in there as well.
All right, so Rick's starting it off. This could be something good.
Okay,
all right, turn one.
Nice.
I think he does need to tap that Underground Sea, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah. Do we...
Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah,
there. We did it. We got there. Yeah. You know, sometimes you just shortcut just a teensy bit, and everyone kind of gets what you're doing.
Yeah, I was really hoping I didn't miss the errata on Elvish Spirit Guide saying you get to add two mana to your mana pool.
2 green mana to your mana pool.
And I think from what I can see in Rick's hand, I think he's sitting on both a Dark Ritual and a Mystical Tutor. So I think...
So both of our players went down to Mulligan Town.
Yeah, like. So Rick on... Is that 5 cards Rick's on?
Yeah, looks like it.
And then I guess we'll see what happens with Eric. But what might happen here is Eric, if he does have a hand attack spell, Rick can just Mystical Tutor in response, but I guess we'll see what they go for here.
By the way, folks, we are streaming on both Twitch and TikTok. We're kind of more closely monitoring the Twitch chat, so you know we're gonna poke our heads in every once in a while on the TikTok side as well.
Scream into the void as loud as you can.
Scream into the void. Chat amongst yourselves. Thanks for joining. You know, hopefully you're enjoying the Canlander content as much as we are. Stay tuned between matches. We are going to share. But between matches, we're going to share a code for you to get 5% off purchases at the Enter the Battlefield online shop. Any Magic cards you're interested in, that's a good time to get those. And we're also going to chat some about new cards that we like since our last Invitational.
New toys.
And new cards coming out too. So sorry, I interrupted we interrupted each other.
Yeah, no problem.
Tell us what happened there, Nate.
Well, Eric, we got fast mana on both sides. Eric going for a Mox Diamond start into a Life from the Loam. That's one of my favorite starts of all time. Life from the Loam, one of my favorite cards to play in this format. And Rick but Rick on the other side, he did have the Mystical Tutor, and he's going right for the Tinker on this one. So Rick wasting no time at getting to what he needs to do.
So if I am doing my math correctly, next turn we're probably going to see Rick go Dark Ritual into Tinker, sacrificing the Talisman, getting, I imagine, Bolus's Citadel, and then try to go.
Let's see if there's anything else that he would want. This isn't a Paradox deck.
Nope.
So for those
he's going to get Tanglepool Bridge.
Let's go.
Artifact land. He just wants that land. I mean, he's got to be worried though that Eric already showed him the mental misstep in turn one, game one. He might have. I think there's like forces in his deck.
Yeah, well, the mental misstep he doesn't need to worry about too much because Eric probably would have hit the Mystical Tutor.
Oh, Yeah, true. Yeah, because he didn't necessarily know he had.
But Rick does know that there is 0 mana interaction, but we do have a Resolve Tinker here.
This is what I'm talking about.
There's the Bolus of Citadel, the namesake.
So this card is pretty crazy. We don't have a card overlay, unfortunately. Maybe we'll figure that out for a future round, but let's just read this off real quick. So it's a huge artifact, legendary. Look at the top card of your library anytime. You can play the cards off the top of your library by paying life instead of their CMC or their mana value, as we call it nowadays. So this lets Rick just go off, and if he can get Doomsday on the top of his deck and cast it through this card, then I imagine that's just the game at that point.
And you can even play the top card, so this doesn't like things with Mystic Forge usually brick you when you have lands on top.
Citadel you does can play the land on top of your deck. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, so Rick, it looks like he bricked with the Citadel.
No
I wonder
way.
I wonder what's on top of his deck then.
Is it a
does he think
counter magic?
Is it a land
spell?
No, play the top card.
No, he hasn't played a land yet.
So I'm wondering what's on top of
I have to imagine it's like miscast.
Yeah.
Or something. Or silence, right? Silence he might want to cast.
He might have done it in Eric's upkeep if it was a silence.
Oh, because it doesn't restrict you on the speed.
I don't believe it restricts you to sorcery speed.
Yeah, it must be a counter spell of some kind. Then that's the only card.
It could be Profane Tutor because you can't cast that off the top of your deck.
Oh, because it's mana.
Because it has no mana value. Doesn't have mana value, so you can't play it.
Yeah,
you can't play without the suspend.
Really?
Yeah, so you can't. So unfortunately, you can't play cards like that. But like you said, it could also be something like.
I know he has miscast. He has Into the Flood Maw. There was. I guess he could have bounced the.
He did cast it. Oh, is it?
It's some kind of counterspell.
I did.
So he just counterspelled a show and tell.
Show and tell. That is.
It wasn't miscast. I don't think. That's
Was it? It definitely. Oh, is that a Flusterstorm?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rick sitting on the Flusterstorm. So Rick.
That's huge.
So draws a card for turn. And we're just going
now.
Oh, here we go.
Off to the races. No, nothing. Oh my God, Rick's getting stuck again. So there's so many lines.
Everything's fine.
There's so many lines in Rick's deck that I have to imagine, as long as he doesn't have those specific cards.
But it's the Oko, and it resolves.
Did you see how Rick fainted that he had a counterspell on top of his deck? Oh no.
Yeah.
And now the Bolus of Citadel is elked.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's not a great feeling. I almost.
Where's the? Why is he looking at the top card of his deck?
I don't know.
Oh, he played the. Okay, sorry. He played the Surveil land. Sorry, I thought he had.
Eric, you're talking about. Yeah.
So now Rick.
That's very
not.
So his and funnily enough, no, I guess his Mox Opal's turned on because he has the Vault of Whispers.
Yeah.
But we might see that become an elk very shortly.
Yeah. I don't know, Eric. Because if he elks one of Rick's other artifacts, this Oko is pretty much really off the table aside from another answer. And you can see Eric deep in the tank right now, wondering if it's right to attack Rick's mana here. Me seeing Eric hesitate like that, if I'm Rick, I'm just thinking okay, I don't think Eric has an answer to get my elks off the table. So Rick very probably correctly identifying that Oko is very vulnerable right now.
So I gotta imagine that at least one of the cards in Eric's hand is a big doofus, a big monster.
Especially with the show and
tell and
but they're at 6 mana, so it's probably not going to be very long until we might just see a hard cast. Because if there's because he has the white source from the Mox, maybe we're just going to see a hard cast Atraxa the old-fashioned way.
Oh, is he running Atraxa?
Oh yeah. Atraxa Grand
Unifier. That card is so silly.
But we do have a Collective Brutality here.
Yeah, check what's in the hand.
Yep,
perhaps.
So Rick discarding the land.
Know what? Okay, so know what Rick has in his hand.
What?
I can't say it too loud because I don't think they can hear us. But so the counters, I think it was another counterspell on top of his deck, and it was a miscast. So he couldn't counter the Oko with it. So that was just really unfortunate luck on Rick's part, which is too bad.
Goes for the one. Okay, so what happened there is Rick used the Collective Brutality to look at Eric's hand, I believe, and So no problem. So Rick looked at Eric's hand and shrank the elk, letting Rick attack into the Oko, forcing Eric to make a choice on this next turn whether or not to make a food or not. And Eric hitting up on their turn, playing a Once Upon a Time, hitting a Wasteland, which is huge here because Rick is very short on mana at the moment. And Eric wastelanding Rick's artifact land actually takes Metalcraft off of the Mox Opal. So Rick's actually just sitting on 1 mana right now.
Both games kind of coming down to, I think, this Oko just mucking with Rick's mana big time, which is always a tough pill to swallow, but what can you do?
Yeah.
Right.
It was very close, but that wasteland hit was absolutely huge for Eric, just putting Rick like really far behind. And what did we have here? And Eric elking his food again to protect the Oko. Oko, of course, having 2 uptick abilities for whatever reason the Magic R&D team decided.
Reasons.
Oh my god. An unchecked Oko is basically a death sentence in this format from what I found. And what is that other card Eric played down there?
I don't know.
Sorry, I can't quite see. We just have it minimized on our side. But Rick's still in a tough spot. Can't even pressure the Oko anymore.
There we go.
And this all really went back to Rick just not hitting anything off that Bolas' Citadel. Not once, but for 2 turns in a row. Didn't really get anything out of it. Very unfortunate, but that's kind of the nature of the combo decks.
Yeah. So quick update from our other tables. Will, who's on Bant Seeker Walk, right? It has time walk anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Beat Nathaniel, who was on Paradox Academy 2-0. So that match is now wrapped up. And what's going on here?
And Eric is now dredging Life from the Loam, recognizing Rick is very stifled on mana, probably going for a Wasteland lock at this point, trying to really restrict Rick on his resources.
So Caracas and a fetch
and Wastelands. And if I was in Eric's spot here, I would definitely just be going for the Wasteland lock, hitting this. I believe
something happened.
I think they reset the life totals on the pad by accident.
There they go. We're good. Okay. Whew. Almost had a technical difficulty issue at the table, which is not usually what happens. Usually the stream.
Yeah, but Eric going hit. If Eric goes for the Wasteland on, I guess, the Seat of the Synod, so now Rick is off Metalcraft again for the Mox Opal. So that's kind of just like a double Stone Rain. And then Oko just doing his thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, so in Rick's position, you put these counter spells in your deck to get that, like, cheeky, protect my thing, right? You go for this big turn, but he actually hit like all 3 of his like
counterspell interactions,
which worked out for the show and tell. But then the Oko that followed that was
there was just nothing he could do about it.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it, Rick. Don't worry, we're seeing it. Yeah, we see it. And
my heart yearns for Rick here.
Not great against Life in the Loam, which just keeps coming back over and over again.
Rick is basically going to have to deal with the Stone Rain every turn. And at this point, Eric might even just start elking Rick's other artifact here, just trying to tear Rick's mana apart.
I mean, again...
Oh, it's Dark Depths. That's what it is.
Oh,
sorry. That's what... I was wondering what that land was.
Oh, and here's Thespian Sage. So, yeah, I mean, like, obviously this top 8 is best of 3 untimed rounds. Players are playing for additional prizing here.
Yep.
We're giving everything to our top 8 players for having done so well over the course of the last 6 months, but you do want to get to the next round. So I think if this was a more fun game, if I was Rick, I'd probably be conceding, but you want to just play that absolute
Rick did
last
just
chance.
So if Rick has a way to get this Bolas' Citadel back from the graveyard,
does he have any reanimation?
Well, he just drew a Profane Tutor, which doesn't let him do anything here. I think. Unless he's suspending the Profane Tutor. Okay. Yeah, and then he shakes the hand. You hate to see it go out like that, especially with such a good start too.
Yeah.
But that does it for our round 1 feature match here. Eric taking it down
2-0.
2-0. A very strong showing from Eric. I think Rick really did play to his outs in those games, especially game one, recognizing like, hey, I'm behind on this Oko. I really need to start pressuring Eric's life total, forcing them to make the choice whether or not to attack Rick's mana base or to try and pressure him right away. But Eric demonstrating a mastery of this Woodlands deck, such a cool archetype.
I mean, Eric demonstrating a mastery of drawing and playing this 3-mana busted planeswalker. No, that diminishes Eric's skill as a player.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Eric is a very good player, but Oko is also
yes.
just
Eric
has shown to be very difficult to beat when unanswered.
Eric has given me a run for my money more times than I can count. So
I won in 2. Or I won in 3.
Okay, we also have an update from another one of our tables. Dave won in 3
Let's
games
go.
over Dan, and
I won in 2.
and Cam won in 2 games.
So some very dominant
Wow.
showings out of our first rounds.
All right.
So does that set our next bracket then?
That does set our next bracket, but I think what we're going to do is we are going to
Give the players a quick break?
Yeah,
Or,
we're going to give the players a quick break, let them, go to the bathroom and stuff.
Yeah.
What we are going to do, however, is maybe
new
briefly
toys?
talk about some new toys.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to see how we can do this. Maybe let's just flip the deck list.
Yeah, let's
This
just...
is not deck list, but,
Yeah, no problem.
yeah.
So what Adam and I have done here is ever since the last Invitational tournament, we brought up a list of some cards that we've seen pop up in the format, cards that we think are strong or would have a strong showing, and stuff like that. Just
Things
to
that
talk
we
about
like. Things that we like. Things
stuff
we
that's
want.
happened to the format. It's like we're two parents proud of our child who's grown up, and we want to talk about what they've been doing in their life. We want to show them off a little bit.
So I know before we started the stream, you brought up this card, Bristly Bill, Spine
Bristly
Sword.
Bill, yeah, Spine Sword. Can we, if we zoom in with a control,
I think we can
Yeah.
do it on here.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah.
Okay, so
there we go.
So
Yeah.
Bristly Bill Spine Sower. This card has popped up everywhere. So an extremely powerful card. For those of you familiar with the card Vine Lasher Kudzu.
Yeah.
Oh my!
From
this
OG
is,
Ravnica.
not Ravnica, Zendikar, I think.
No. Vine Lasher Kudzu is
it
OG
is Ravnica. That's right.
Yeah.
It's landfall before landfall.
Yeah.
So this is that card probably tuned to 11. So this is 1/1 green for a legendary plant druid. It's a 2/2. With the landfall, it lets you put a landfall, which is whenever a land comes into play, it lets you put a +1/+1 counter on any creature that you want, which is quite frankly insane. You get to pump other cards, so stuff like you can pump your Esper Sentinel, you can pump your Dreadhorde Arcanist, and even just putting counters on Bristly Bill himself is really good, but it doesn't stop there because Wizards likes to keep putting text on cards. Bristly Bill, you can pay 5 mana at any time, and you get to double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control.
This card is Blacko, Jacko. I mean, I'm a fan of the Cossack Bronco. Let's scroll down here. There's a couple other cool cards.
And there's a couple of other.
Let's talk about this one. I like.
Slick shot show off, especially, and I found especially a lot these past about 6 months since the last tournament. These red blue based prowess style decks have gotten a lot of new toys. Slick shot show off being one of the more pushed cards for that style. Just being able to have haste and attack right away with an effect like this, where it's not just instants and sorceries, but this is artifacts as well.
So I've been mostly playing this card in like Standard and Explorer on Arena.
And what has it done to you in those formats?
It's been good, So I wanted to talk about the plot here because I think it is really interesting. I think especially for a format like ours where maybe you want to play this in like a blue-red deck and kind of play it as more of like a tempo threat and protect it. Having the plot ability to kind of like stash it up for the following turn, where you then have your mana available,
or like protect it against like the black-based decks trying to attack.
Yeah, for sure, exactly. So it's really nice to have that optionality. You don't always have to do it. You can always just play it out and have it go, but like plotting it is very relevant.
And I think a lot of people will look at this card and just be like, "Oh, I can just swords it, I can just bolt it." But on the turns where you like tap out, or you basically always have to keep mana up for this card, or it will take half your life total away without you knowing it.
Yeah, and that's not to mention when you start putting like cards like Berserk.
Or even like Gataxian Probe.
Sure.
Or of course Ancestral Recall in this format.
All right. Well, there's obviously a lot of other cards that we thought were interesting from Outlaws. We're going to go into some other sets later, but just before we break, let's go back to us here. Just before we break, hello, we do want to share a promo code for you folks. If you're interested in getting any of the cards you saw that we were just talking about out of Outlaws of Thunder Junction, or maybe some of the cards you're seeing on the stream today, or anything else really.
If you yourself want to be an outlaw, enter the battlefield.
Yeah, and become an outlaw. You can use the promo code ETB Canlander. That's ETB Canlander at enterthebattlefield.ca. If I remember right.
Canlander spelled exactly the same as you see on screen here.
Yeah, exactly. And so that will give you 5% off your MTG singles, and I believe that's until tomorrow, end of day.
I'm going to ETB Canada right now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so folks, thank you for joining us for round one. We are going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with our semifinals of our Canlander Invitational.
Yes.
See you soon.
All right.